Tell us about who LifeWise is.
Right. Well, kia ora tātou. The history of LifeWise is a movement of, fighters against social injustice, and started here in Tamaki Makaurau probably early 1990 in regards to service provision. So they stand up and fight social injustice with services that address our most vulnerable communities, and that includes our early childcare, education. We have services for rangatahi and youth housing. We have mental health and addictions. We have housing services, and we also have aged care. So for LifeWise, our main mission is around serving people and providing hope. So I've been doing the mahi a long time, and based here in Central City, Auckland, but also have large services in the Bay of Plenty region.
When did the Big Sleepout start?
Sleepout, we had a kind of an issue around trying to find good permanent housing options for street whānau. So Sleepout was a way for LifeWise to actually say to New Zealand, there is a huge issue here of rough sleeping and homelessness. So in 2014, the build-up of Sleepout happened, mainly in Aotea Square at that time. We had a lot of workshops with street whānau coming in to get an understanding of how we could really raise this awareness. And we did our first Sleep Out in 2015-16. So it was around then just raising awareness that this is actually happening. To what we've all seen over the years is that we've had to provide options for ending homelessness, and we're kind of still struggling around that.
Yeah, you took a little bit of hiatus because of COVID. That sort of put up, you couldn't really do anything. So, 6 years down the track, you're able to bring back the Big Sleepout. And again, we're trying to raise awareness here around homelessness and the seriousness of the issue around homelessness in this country. And that's what the Big Sleepout is. It's a fundraiser. We'll get to how you can be involved in just a little bit. But why such the long gap after COVID?
The COVID hit, I guess, around street whānau. We saw a lot of the sweep into emergency housing, and people were immediately placed because, of course, the level 4. When our current government decided to close emergency housing, we didn't have enough pipeline to really effectively place people into permanent housing. So these are the numbers that we're seeing. So the bring back of the flagship event is for us to identify and raise awareness again that over the last 6 years since our last Sleep Out, the numbers have actually heightened, and we're getting more complexity in the rough sleeping space. So we made the decision late last year that Sleep Out had to come back, and we had to sadly remind our communities that this issue is raw and here again.
How much worse is the issue? How much worse is it?
We're seeing now, on the street now, you would back then have seen a middle-aged adult experiencing a street whānau environment or rough sleeping. Now we're seeing young people, sadly children, families, aged in terms of 75 plus. We didn't have those numbers so visible back then. The numbers right now in Central City, Auckland, are over 700 of people sleeping rough, but that really encompasses across the age continuum. So I've been interviewed a few times on what we're seeing, and I've kind of given it the narrative that it's a pandemic, because in the bigger cities, mainly Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, it was very visible in the city environment. But now what we're seeing, like in external communities or suburbs, the shore is actually now seeing more visible rough sleeping. So it's out there, visible and quite chronic.
I read an article. It's devastating to read. There's never a right time to be, this is going to sound really stupid, and excuse me, but through the seasons you experience you read about people being homeless throughout the seasons of the year. Winter's not a good time to be on the street. And I read an article recently that somebody actually froze to death
Yes.
as a result of being on the street.
Yep. That's the reality, yes.
Yeah, that is the reality. And I know you can point to maybe cost of living, maybe one of the reasons why people are finding it a struggle to be in a home. Is there anything else that you can point towards why our people are having to turn to the streets that people can reconcile with?
The sadness of having street whānau actually in their time on, here with us, on a piece of concrete, and I know of that one, there's actually 2 that have been the most recent that have passed this winter, is when we see services who are quite able to provide pipelining into housing, struggling to actually engage with street whānau and start putting good access pathways in place. This is what happens. We know this is because a lot of our rough sleepers, they've had all those supports offered to them, and usually all those supports have failed and they've come back to the streets. So there's a lack of belief that they can be housed because the behaviours that go into the house are people who have struggled to maintain tenancies, or the drug and alcohol and the addictions has overtaken the behaviour, and this is where we see the end of the tenancy, and then they're evicted, and they're quite blacklisted. So they can't get into other homes. So they end up back on the streets. So as Aotearoa, what we see is a lot of the visible ones, they've actually been housed. But because they haven't been supported, they've come back out. So when we see that whānau are dying out on our streets, they've usually been supported but haven't engaged appropriately. It's a sad factor.
I've noticed there, I picked up on a couple of words that you used. You used rough sleepers, but you also used street whānau. Is that how you refer to them as family?
Yep.
That's how we should be looking at them as well.
Street whānau is because they've created whānau within the streets. If you look at a family environment, like we look at our siblings and everything as our safe place, that's their safe place. So it's either streety or street whānau. We used to say streety because there was only one. Now what we see in the space is there's more than one. So when you're trying to support and engage, we have to all recognise that it's not one individual anymore. The rough sleepers are the ones that crash in anywhere, but street whānau are quite a connected cohort. They're very strong.
Okay, let's get on to the Big Sleepout and how people can get involved with raising awareness and being able to fundraise for this wonderful initiative.
Yep.
What is the Big Sleepout?
Big Sleepout is taking place, thank you, our partners, AUT, who are hosting us in the car park. We've been there 3 times before and had the event. And the whole drive around Sleepout, and specifically this year's kaupapa, is bringing all walks of life together, because we all know the issues there, is to create and have those conversations around effective community solutions. So when the government is looking at how do we address and tackle homelessness, that this diversity of community has come together, and this one has been co-designed and led out by street whānau and lived experience. So raw stories are going to be told during the evening of how it is. And we have the corporate setting who have registered and participated. They're listening to see how they can participate. So it's, yes, we do sleep rough. We have the opportunity to have one night's insight. So we know that the participants aren't going to do this every night, but they're going to have an insight after hearing the stories from actual lived experience to really get that empathy and understand what the whānau are going through.
That's today, being the 10th of July.
Yes, yep.
Today.
So the exciting part of it is that it's the only time in NZ, it is the only time when freedom of conversation takes place. So like the Department of Corrections or the intersectoral departments are coming in and being involved. But what has pleased me, because this will be my 7th sleep out, is that we've got judges, we've got barristers, we've got rangatahi leadership, we've got faith-based, we've got CEs of the banks. You never get an opportunity to have that conversation all together. So it is a different sleep out because we haven't had this much intersectoral approach. So it's very exciting. How you can help whānau and tautoko the event is jump on the LifeWise Big Sleepout website. We're up there. We're going live now. We're sitting right now at 111,000. Our target has been 500K. So we've still got a long way to go. So please, if you're interested in contributing to this cause, jump on our website.
So just to break it down for people, and this is an Auckland initiative, but obviously it's raising awareness for homelessness up and down the country. But this is an Auckland initiative. Are you in a massive car park and you're sleeping rough for one night tonight? And what does that look like?
In terms of us sleeping rough,
Yeah.
you just spread out everywhere. You got to find your own space. You're being advised to really get an understanding and insight, come as you are and how you need to be. So some will bring sleeping bags, some will rough it out. In the past, we've had the big kai thing going on.
Yep.
We're not doing that this year.
Okay.
This is around getting in and getting good insight. We've actually held sleep out 3 times in Rotorua as well.
Great.
So there's a common connection around the space. So people are aware of the issue.
And to support the cause, they can just jump into the LifeNZ website.
LifeWise sleepout.org.nz, we're up there. You'll see all the participants. You'll see how much each person has raised, and you get to tautoko and support.
I guess the ideal situation for you, Haehaetu, is you'd love to be out of a job. Was that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're looking at chronic complexities. So the aim is we'd all want to be out of a job and we'd see our street whānau or rough sleepers permanently housed. Gone are the days of EHTH. Whānau need to be in homes.